Hey guys, how's it going? So, just want to do a quick video. I pretty much got done playing around 4 or 5 hours of Mirror's Edge Catalyst. I was given access, actually a free month to EA Access, which is their little kind of subscription program where they'll give you a discount on EA games and also allow you to play EA games a few days ahead of release for a set amount of time. So I thought, okay, what better way for me to use my free month than right now, especially with Mirror's Edge coming out. I already explained to you guys in my channel update why I'm gonna choose to not play the game on release and just hold off until later. But in the meantime, I did play the game on Xbox One. I have been playing it, and I still got a little bit more time left on my trial. But I feel like I got a good understanding right now of my first impressions on the game and whatnot. Now, just to keep this in mind, all right, during my trial, I didn't want to spoil much of anything, so I skipped through all the cutscenes in the game. And I'm going to, of course, pay more attention to the story when I play the full game on my PC. But at this point in time, I just wanted to get into the gameplay and just do a few side missions, and the game only let me play up to a certain part in the story, which I'm actually thankful for, because you have to play the story missions to unlock more of the gear. And this video is going to be pretty short. I'm going to try to get this under 10 minutes, alright, because I just want to kind of, knock it out, nail it right now for you guys. Alright, so what are my overall thoughts on the game? They're actually quite positive. I absolutely love this game. When this game is going and you're playing it and you're familiar with the controls and you're doing all this cool stuff, the game is incredible. The sense of speed, the flow of things, it all just handles extremely well. Now, I'm playing it on Xbox One, alright, and the frame rate, from what I can tell, has been very stable so far. I haven't noticed any severe dips at all, to be quite honest. There's been some slight stuttering here and there, but I think that's more of the VSync lock, and when the frame rate does dip, you have those miscalculations in the frame timing. That being said, I haven't noticed it go probably below 50 frames per second in like the worst case scenario. Most of the time it's smooth 60. When it does drop, it maybe drops a few frames and you can't really tell. We're going to have to wait until the Digital Foundry analysis to really nail down what the frame rate is going to be. But from my experience so far, I don't even know if there's a day one update installed in this thing. I just downloaded this thing. From my experience so far, it's extremely stable, at least for the Xbox One side of things. So if you're playing it on that console, you really have nothing to worry about in terms of frame rate. Now, the resolution is 720p on Xbox One, but to be quite honest with you, the anti-aliasing is pretty damn good, that it reduces a lot of the jagged elements that you would normally get with a 720p presentation. That being said, it's pretty... It looks pretty nice. It's soft, right? But it does look pretty nice, and playing it on this monitor right here, which has a resolution of 3440 by 1440, excuse me. Even when you're downscaling it to that resolution, it still looks quite good, and it's not so... I guess it's not so jagged and soft. It's soft, but it's not really, pixelated, I guess. So the game handles well, and the graphics are pretty nice. Nice, beautiful effects going on. You have these nice screen space effects. They did replace some assets that were in the beta. Like they added in this one area, like they added like a terrace area, and they replaced like some walls that were just kind of glossy with like bricks before. So, I mean, you have certain assets that have been replaced from the beta, I think, to give it a more realistic, natural appearance rather than just have it be plain in that regard. So I'm going to go over quickly the negatives. Bottom line is the game handles really well, alright? Now, there are some negatives. In fact, there are some issues that are still present from the beta, alright? A lot of these issues are boiled down to the technical side of things. There's a few development issues here and there, but a lot of the issues that I'm going to talk about are more about technical limitations. Mirror's Edge, in concept, is very much a game ahead of its time. I don't think that even this generation of consoles and this generations of like a GPU can really handle the type of immersion and just the whole vision that Mirror's Edge really wants to bring. I mean, this is supposed to be a lively city, beautiful, futuristic, and it nails that. But when you kind of look into the underbelly of things and you kind of look out in the distance, you can see where compromises were made. All right. For one, you remember that segment in the beta where you're up on top of that really tall skyscraper. I think the mission was called Drone Works, and you may have noticed that looking out into the city in the far distance, it looked very muddy. It was all kind of untextured and things like that, and you just saw some really low res texture buildings. That's all still in the game. That didn't change. Again, it's a technical side, it's a technical limitation of the game because for the game to have to render actual textures miles in that distance is kind of pointless when you have all these skyscrapers that are going to be obscuring your view over there in the first place. But that stuff, like if you notice, when you look down into the city, like, oh, those buildings look really bad, that's still in the base game. They didn't change that at all. There are some instances where I noticed that the street, you saw a street, right? And it was turning into a building, and I noticed this from the beta. And I went to that same exact spot and looked at it, and that street is still turning into the building. You have cars that are still kind of glitching into buildings and whatnot in certain aspects. All right, so in the more rural parts of the city where you're not really paying attention to that stuff, that is where you'll see it. The more open areas, you don't see traffic, you don't see cars running into other cars and things like that. That's kind of been fixed. It's just that the places where there is traffic, but you're not really paying attention to it because it's in a really dark alleyway or something like that, that's where you're going to see these glitches, all right? It kind of feels not, I don't want to say unfinished, but a little bit unpolished in that case, all right? Like this game, if this game had like an extra year of development time, it probably could have remedied out a lot of those issues, all right? But that's still in the game. The biggest issue right now, at least on Xbox One, is the texture streaming issues. There is a lot of texture popping in this game, especially when you first start off the game. You're running, right? And the ground is completely black, and all of a sudden it pops in and you're like, oh, this is actually like asphalt or rock that's on the ground that just failed to load. It happens frequently, and you can't. Again, it's a technical limitation because you're running through these levels at such a fast pace, and the game has to keep up with loading content at that pace as you're running through these levels. And in this amazingly detailed world, the game has to constantly load and deload textures and streams and all this stuff as you're going through the world, all in real time. This is a CPU limitation by the consoles, and if it's this bad on Xbox One, then it might even be worse on PS4 because the Xbox One CPU actually runs at a faster speed than that of the PS4. So again, I don't know if there's a day one update installed in this thing that may have remedied those issues already, but from what I'm playing, there's a lot of texture popping. It's not too bad when you get to like the Anchor District and it's a little bit reflective and everything's very glossy, but in downtown, it's very noticeable. You're gonna see like just textures like on walls and stuff popping like crazy. You'll be running along and buildings are gonna look really bad, and all of a sudden you'll take a second look at them and the textures will pop in and you're like, oh, okay, that looks nice. That happens a lot. Those pixelated ads, by the way, they're still in the game. It's a texture streaming issue. It's same as what I was describing with the ground and the buildings and stuff like that. It's the same thing with the ads and the banners. They're pixelated when you're running around. Then you can stop. You can wait about 3 or 4 seconds for the game to catch up loading with where you are at, and then it will load in and you'll get that higher quality video. So that is still there, and again, if we get new consoles like the PlayStation 4 Neo or the Xbox Scorpio or whatever they're going to call it, that are going to be more powerful, then I may expect these issues to be fixed, and we'll not have to deal with texture streaming issues, especially if the CPU is running at a faster speed and they're able to really optimize it more, maybe on different architecture and things like that. But for now, that is a big issue. That is the biggest issue by far with this game. Texture streaming issues. You're going to see pop in with textures and everything like that. But the most important part, of course, is frame rate and the gameplay ability, and that's all pretty much been optimized and fixed. DICE is really good with that. There's a lot of side missions in the game, like more so than there was in the beta, because previously we just got a taste of what was available. You have dead drop deliveries, you have time deliveries that people give you. That's all in the game, but one of my favorite side missions is actually called the Grid Note Infiltration, where you basically have to go into like a you have to go into this Alcom data center, and there's lasers, and you have to basically parkour your way up to a computer and hack it and basically take down the security network or whatever that's in that area. And it's so much fun because you're basically infiltrating like a server room, and there's like computers everywhere, and you have to parkour your way up there, but you have to dodge the lasers, and if you get detected by the lasers, Cougar Sex sends people after you. And so it's a lot of fun because it's challenging and you really have to take your time, and it's different too. Like this is stuff that you normally see in like a story mission, but these are side